Jams Podcast with your host,
Raw. Hey, welcome. This is episode 7 of the Hardware Jams Podcast. I'm your host, Lugibert SB, and this show is packed. We had the single box challenge last weekend, and there was some fantastic music. The OPZs are out. Oh my gosh, these little tiny machines are making the most amazing sound. We've got 2 artists using those, and I've also got an interview with the massively famous, at least to me and our hardware community, BoBeats from Sweden. He's joining me for an interview. Thank you so much for taking the time out. And this first track he just dropped this week, and it is a beaut. He's really into his gaming music, retro style, and this is just a beautiful piece of music. And it's literally called What's on My Analog 4 Mark II, and discussion on how to finish music. Check it out! Such a cool retro vibe. I really love it. It's just reminiscent of those kind of, I don't know, mid-90s, 2000s kind of retro games. A really, really lovely track. Yeah, just really nice how it moves. I love my deep house, and I've been getting more and more into this stuff after doing more and more hardware jams, and this track was dropped this week. I think it was just in the middle of the forum, but it was just really, really lovely. It's called Session 20. It's by basicnoise, Fanai, I think, F-A-N-A-I, and it's just so well produced. The sounds are great, and the music's just put together really well. Nice deep house. I hope you enjoy. Sorry, that track is so nice. It's a lot longer track. Check out the link in the description to hear the whole track. I know a lot of his other pieces sound cool. I haven't worked my way through them all yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. So yes, OPZ. If you don't know what an OPZ is, it's like I don't know, probably half the size of a Volca. It's freaking tiny. It's super cute, and you can do loads of tracks with it. And this is another Swede, one of my favourite artists. I really like his stuff. It's Michael Hellqvist, and this is OPZ Low Light Grainy EDM. And you just can't believe this little tiny thing is making all that sound. It just sounds quality. Really cool kind of movement throughout the track. I hope you enjoy it. Really kind of unique vibe from that as well. Yes, let's take it to the next OPZ track, just to kind of keep us on a theme. This is Pierre Blanc. His YouTube is Emerging Patterns. He's from Lyon, France. A lot of the French artists just have this such a cool vibe. Really nice. Kind of reminds me of Air and that kind of stuff. This track is called Live Abstract Stroke Ambient with the Z, and it's just so lovely. It's a Facebook video, so it looks a bit crap and it sounds a bit crap, but that's just Facebook, isn't it? But yes, check out his other tunes, and I hope you enjoy this one. just want one. I just want one. They just sound so good. I want one. They're on back order as well. Killer. Oh well, who knows? I might get one soon. Saving my pennies, maybe for Santa Claus, I don't know. We haven't had any techno for 3 tracks, that's way too long. This next track is called Analog 4 Techno. It's part of the Single Box Challenge. Kind of quite a new artist on the group. I believe I've done 1 track already on the podcast. Where's the details? Oh yeah, it's Saini Elisabet from Helsinki, Finland. Yes, I haven't pronounced that correctly, I'm sure. But yeah, a lot of the tracks are really kind of cool techno vibes, and this one certainly does the job. and all from one box. Really cool track, really cool techno. It's really great to see some more female artists on the group. Big respect to all of the female artists out there putting music together. There's a new person, Molly Sokel. I think it's mainly, she's been doing a lot of stuff on Reddit. There's a new Hardware Jams Reddit group. So if you're on your Reddit social media, go check out. Is it social media? I don't know. Might be. Forum, whatever it is, go check it out if you're on Reddit. And she's been doing a lot of stuff there. And it's a really short track. It's called Digitone Digitech Praiser. So when I first heard it, I was like, listen again. I think I listened to it like 4 or 5 times. It's a really cute little track. It's only short, and I know she's already posted something in this weekend's challenge that was really cool as well. But this is from the last weekend's last week. It wasn't even in the challenge. It's a really cool track. I hope you enjoy it. BoBeats will enjoy it because it's like really good retro game style music. So yeah, enjoy. Such a sweet little track. I really enjoy that, and yeah, her other tunes are really ace as well, so please check them out. The next artist was the winner of the One Box Challenge. It was Jordančo Jankov. He's from Macedonia. I don't know what's in the water in Macedonia, but there's a couple of good artists out there in the Hardware Jams community. And yeah, this is a really cool track. Lectraw 2 Live, Sweet Autumn. Oh, the flow in that track is just super nice. The parts, the way they kind of move into each other is really cool. Structure's very solid. I love a well-structured jam. Really cool track. So, on to the interview. I had BoBeats this week, and it was great to chat to him. Really friendly guy, really solid. He's obviously got so much experience in understanding technology, but he really is a creative guy as well with his music, so we get chatting about a couple of his tracks, and yeah, I really hope you enjoy the interview. I really had a good time doing it, and this is BoBeats.
Hello there.
Hey Bo, how's it going?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Of course, of course. I try to be all about the community.
Oh, I really appreciate that. It's interesting. You've definitely grown a big community with all of your videos. It's really great to see such positive comments back and forth on YouTube. Is that something you kind of wanted to do with it when you got into this side of stuff?
Yeah, I guess. When I started, I don't really think I knew what I wanted to do. It's just sort of happened organically. But I think I had a much larger community impact than I had with my YouTube channel initially. So I was much more, when I started, the videos was sort of a thing I did, and I was really engaged on a lot of forums and a lot of groups on Facebook. Because I started with the innovation circuits, I kind of started in that community, and I was engaged with some challenges and stuff like that, and I think it grew organically from that. Like my own aspirations grew, and the feedback from the community it sort of mixed together in a nice way. So it's kind of cool.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So you're a lecturer at university, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Exactly.
What field is that you're in?
Educational sciences. So it's basically the teacher program. Yeah. So to become a teacher. So I do work in other institutions as well, in other faculties as well, but at the moment it's mostly in the teacher education sector.
That is why you're so good at showing people how to use equipment. That totally makes sense.
Yeah. I guess like
transferable skills, definitely. So how long have you been doing music for?
Since I'd say around 97, 98.
Nice.
Something like that.
Was it always electronic music, or did you do?
Yeah. I played the recorder when I was. And people are very quick to tell me that it's the recorder. We don't call it flute. It's like a special needs category of flutes.
Yeah.
It's like
I think I definitely had some lessons in flute as well. Oh yeah. No, not in flute, in recorder. I'm getting confused already.
Yeah. Well, it's a flute, but yeah, in Sweden it has. I always tell the story because I think it's funny. Because in Sweden people had to learn to play the recorder sort of mandatory. Right. It was sort of the entry into music. We've always had a lot of emphasis in Swedish schools, at least, starting to learn some kind of instrument. And the recorder, I don't know if this is the case nowadays, but when I grew up in the early 90s, the recorder was one of those that people started with.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's cool. Whereabouts in Sweden are you then?
Southern Sweden. I'm in Halmstad. So it's basically between Gothenburg and Malmö on the west coast of Sweden. So the cities are like on a line right down the coast from the border, basically up to Norway down to the southern peak. So I'm in between there, Malmö and Gothenburg.
Nice. So what were the early music influences? What kind of music did you get into?
The first, I've had this question asked from different people, and I realized the other day, like the first album I think I seriously bought myself was the South Park album with South Park music. One of those really early albums when I was like a kid. And I don't really know because I hadn't watched a lot of South Park. It was something I don't think I was allowed or something. But I bought it and I enjoyed like the funny music. And I've actually done some more humorous music, some kind of music for comedies, for some small web things back in the day. So I think I have, but that was one of the first. Then it was, I think like Jean-Michel Jarre. Susanne Swin, Mike Oldfield, Vangelis. Those were kind of early on big influences.
Real classic electronica kind of stuff then.
Yeah, for sure. And then we had I had that, and then I had video game music, like Final Fantasy music, Zelda music.
Yeah. It was like interesting. I was listening to your podcast with Cuckoo, and he got really into the game music stuff. Yeah. It was really interesting, actually. I just recently bought one of these Super Nintendo mini consoles, and it's just like, it's so great to just hear all the old music.
Yeah, it's lovely. And when I talked to Cuckoo about it, it sort of reminded me that this was actually a very big part of my musical background. You see, often when people ask me like musical influences, I have a little hard time narrowing it down because I don't really feel super influenced by any. Perhaps Jean-Michel Jarre was like one of those I really listened to a lot, but I didn't listen to that many others religiously, like some people do that are musically interested. But I realized when I talked to Cuckoo that video game music is probably one of the biggest influences for me. In the way I approach music, like on a very fundamental level, the way I build tracks. If I don't sit down and think like, oh, I need to have a 8-bar verse or something, it'll just sound very video gamey because I think it's that sort of logic that I have ingrained in me somehow because of all the games.
I guess in a way it's a little bit more progressive music, which is the same thing with that Oxygen album. That was very much quite a progressive kind of track rather than... I guess it kind of comes from the equipment people are using as well. It's what people riff off in a way, isn't it? It's quite interesting. I was listening
definitely.
To one of your tracks, the Analog Beats Drum Brute Mother 32 track that you've put on YouTube.
Yeah.
So what was the kind of background for building this track?
This was one of the first things I did with the Mother 32. And speaking of riffing of your equipment, basically I made a sequence. If I don't misremember, I think I made a sequence on the Mother 32, and I had the drum brute playing. And I just started to using it's basically set up so the Mother 32 re-triggers its own sequencer, if I don't misremember.
Oh wow!
So it sort of re-triggers, or it can re-trigger, and it can also change. I think it could change the BPM slightly as well with one. I think I do it like manually or something in this video. I'm not too sure. But yeah, you can do some re-triggering of the little loop, and that's why you get this sort of very kind of little wonky bass line or something in it.
Nice.
And then I used the Octatrack as a mixer, which is actually a really cool. It's an expensive mixer, but it's a really cool performance mixer.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most fun ways that I enjoy to use it because of the fader, and you can set up different scenes. So I can transition between different effects very fluidly.
Yeah. It's interesting that
pretty much it.
The fun side of mix is totally down my street. I use a DB4 DJ mixers, and it's for that same thing. They're just good fun to use as a mixer.
Yeah.
So let's have a listen to that track now, and this is BoBeats track Analog Beats. So yeah, I'm just here with BoBeats, the very popular YouTuber that does a lot of reviews on equipment. And yeah, what's your favourite bit of equipment right now? What are you kind of really into?
Good question. Yeah, what am I into right now? I must say the Novation Peak.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I must say. This was a synth I was kind of lukewarm. That's the saying, right?
Yeah, yeah, lukewarm, yeah.
Yeah, I was lukewarm about it when I first started out. And, you know, because on the internet, we all know it's a lot of text. We focus on tech specs. We focus on like statistics and stuff like, and we listen to the demos, and it sometimes it's very far from how you feel it when you really touch it. So when I got it here, I'm doing a little job for Novation. I'm making some patches for them.
Nice.
That I think will be available somehow, I don't know, in the future. And the thing I realized was, you know, on paper, it's not that exciting. It's not fully analog, or it's not even analog in the traditional sense. It only has I think it's the eight voices, if I don't misremember, and so on. But it's just, and it's so people could easily say you could exchange it for a VST or something. But it's just something about it that makes it very fun to use. And I think it's also that the transferable knowledge that I have with the circuit, the Novation circuit, makes it very easy to use the Peak. So it was sort of this, you know, love at first touch, basically. Because it was very easy to program it, because it has the same internal logic when it comes to creating modulations and so on. So yeah, definitely one that I go to at the moment just to have fun and make sounds, and yeah.
Nice. Did you like the SL, the new SL Mark III?
Definitely. Definitely. It's sitting over there.
It's
still like the centerpiece that I use, and I you know, unless Arturia really hits it out of the park with a like new KeyStep, BeatStep Pro 2 or KeyStep Pro. You know, I don't know anything, but I've told them that we need one. So unless that's coming soon, I will be using the SL as my master keyboard for quite some time, just because it ties everything together very nicely. So I don't have to change keyboard depending on what I'm doing.
Yeah, the only thing for me is it's like I don't have that much desk space. It's like I really like small things just so you can fit more gear in. I use a lot of Hellqvist
that's very true.
Reason.
I still have, well, now I don't have it here, but I usually just have a KeyStep laying around, like just sitting on the floor beside the table. Just pull it up and connect it to my computer whenever I do noodle or do something with a DAW. Because I don't really have the space on this desk, the mixing and sort of producing desk for a keyboard. So so the SL is, that's the drawback, and they should make a desktop unit without the keyboard, I think. But I guess they probably, if they do, it'll be very different because of how the light grid is integrated and stuff. So it'd still be a little bit different, I think.
It makes sense that it's a keyboard. I think that's the cool thing about it, but it's just like 2 octaves would be enough for me. I can't play keyboards with 2 hands. One hand's enough.
I can barely do it, but it's still something. I think it's the visual aspect. I'm so used to play something using something which looks like a keyboard. So when I play something like a circuit monostation or a circuit, I often set it to chromatic mode, so I have the visual outline of a keyboard on it. And when I use what was I thinking? When I used one of the best things that I enjoyed with the Analog 4 and Analog Mark 1 and 2 was that you had this little mini keyboard on it that was outlined like a keyboard, and the same goes for the Digitact, which is very easy to play as a keyboard on the little buttons. Because when I go to Analog Rhythm, which has the pads that you play, my brain gets confused because it's like, where's the note? And of course it's not that difficult, but it's just something very very used to it, even though I can't play. So
No, I totally agree with you. I think the equipment should be fun and quick to use is like the first two tick boxes. Then if it sounds great, that's like happy days. Like
yeah. I didn't think much about this a couple of years ago when I was more inside of a DAW and I was always using a keyboard and everything was, you have the MIDI grid with the keyboard, so it's very easy to see inside of most DAWs where you're at in terms of what notes you're playing and so on. But when I started with hardware again, I realized that I had, even though I can't play very well, I have this piano logic ingrained in me, and I really need it because that's sort of why I prefer the Digitakt to something like the analog rhythm when it comes to just making music, because of the way you can play it. It's much more, it makes more sense for me. It's more tactile, keyboard, the kind of keyboardish layout.
Well, it's funny, I've had that thing, but from guitars. So I've spent the last kind of 9 months kind of going, this is what it would be on guitar. How do you work that out onto keys, right? And then just kind of trying to transpose them. So I've been trying to learn guitar for many years, on and off, but I just have trouble. Of course, I just haven't devoted enough time to it, but it's something with the logic there, which is it makes it difficult. I'm trying to learn my daughter, or help my daughter. She has a ukulele. Oh, nice.
Small guitar, So where I'm learning to play like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on it and so on. It's very nice. Maybe I should start with that because it's a nice stepping stone to understand the logic. It's fewer strings, I think.
Yeah, you've got 4 strings on a ukulele. Yeah. It's funny actually, when I pick my guitar up and play for my girlfriend, she's like, "You're not practicing enough," and I'm like, "I'm getting better at keys than I am on guitar," which is kind of embarrassing. But there you go.
You've got some nice guitars there back.
Oh yeah, I've got a PRS. I sold loads of equipment to buy that, and then a Faith acoustic as well. So
nice.
An eBay special, so it keeps me happy.
That's awesome. I did train guitar a little while, like a year or something, like classic guitar, but I never got into it. It was just something. I think it's also I don't have really good finger dexterity. I have small hands, and it's very hard for me to get a good grip around the guitar. It's just I'm not that agile with my hands, so it was very difficult even at a young age.
You end up going, "Oh, this would sound good, but it's quite hard to play, so I'll not play that. I'll do something different." Make it easy. One of your other tracks I was having a listen to is Octo Moog, which is your Mother 32 Octa track. It's quite an upbeat track, this, but it's just literally 2 bits of kit. It's got a real kind of like retro-y vibe to it as well. I don't know if you've had a listen to this one for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Octa Moog.
Octa Moog one. What was the kind of process behind this track?
Oh, I think it's quite similar to the one that we heard in the sense. I think I made them around more than a year ago, and I think that it was still the same sort of working like pretty minimalistic with like a bass line and a drum beat, and then I used. So the drum beat in this jam is programmed on the analog on the Octatrack, and I'm using scenes to create these kind of typical Octatrack glitchy beats, and then I just paired it with the Mother 32, and I have this bass line running. And again, it was one of the most fun experiences with the Mother 32. I think just having these sort of random effect, or that kind of random effect going on where you have I don't remember how you set it up on the Mother 32, but there you use an LFO to re-trigger the sequencer. I think that's what's going on.
Oh, sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that works so nicely for a lot of electronic music, where you have these sort of randomization options and unexpected turnouts, and sometimes it just works. Now, it's kind of a repetitive jam, but it's still, I still think it's a lot of it's fun to listen to, even though it's just very minimalistic.
Yeah, excellent. Let's have a listen to that track now. So yeah, I'm still here with BoBeats. Thank you very much for joining me. It's interesting that Octatrack. It is a real glitch machine, isn't it? I think it's. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else out there that's quite as glitchy. Here's a good question for you. I'm interested in. Is there something else that's good for doing kind of glitchy stuff across the main track?
That's a good question. I'm not really into glitchy stuff that much. I guess like there's a ton of Eurorack sequencers. I know Andrew Wong has even made a big video on like glitchy stuff, which is kind of cool. And I think like Eurorack sequencers are probably where it's at when you want to do really interesting glitchy stuff. I saw also I think it was Richard Devine, if I'm not mistaken. He did one of those small segments from his studio with his Eurorack, and he has this super crazy Eurorack, and it's a very intricate I can never say that word, intricate kind of glitchy beat, and a lot of people got annoyed because it's very like cerebral, like almost like intellectual music, and people like, oh, so many Eurorack modules and such bad music. But I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, it wasn't something I would like sit and relax to, but it was interesting, to listen to, like a good jazz piece.
Yeah,
good experimental jazz piece. So yeah, Eurex probably where it's at. But when it comes to like standalone boxes, I think I've heard some people do some kind of glitchy cool stuff with that no coast O coast synth, for example. It seems also, because I guess it also has to do with the architecture of a synth or the way sequencer or sampler works, just how you can manipulate it to get those kind of random broken down results. So yeah,
it's good fun. It's good fun. So if you've got someone new coming into doing some hardware jams, they want to come off a door, what would your best advice be for someone brand new giving it a go?
Yeah, I guess watch my series.
Definitely.
My series on the topic, how to make a hardware synth setup. It's a very basic series. So shameless self-plug. It's a very basic series.
Man. I'll link it in the video.
Yeah, it's very basic. It's actually a collaboration with Reverb.com. They basically just said, do you want to make a video series on this topic? And I thought, that this would actually be great because I get so many questions. Should I get X or Y?
Yeah.
So the video series is actually just about how to sort of pick your stuff and a little bit about how to connect it and what to think about. And my advice for most people would actually, if they're coming totally, if they have very, very little experience of anything that has to do with electronic music, then I would say a Novation circuit is like a really good starting point because it's inexpensive and it's very tactile. And the gripes people have with it are problems that you have with it because you are more knowledgeable. So a beginner usually doesn't have any issues with it. Like people don't like that it's very, it doesn't have a normal synth architecture because you have the macro knobs instead of, for example, a filter knob and so on. Well, you have a master filter, but yeah. So if you don't have any experience, it's really easy to get going with it. And I think if you're more experienced, something like a circuit and a Lectraw 2 is probably, I've never had one, but I have so many friends who talk warmly about it and fondly about it. And maybe even, Digitact could be interesting as well if you're more experienced and you want like a fun hardware piece.
Yeah.
And all of these units are self-contained. So you can make a track on them, but you can also sequence other equipment, which is sort of the rule where I think you should start. That's why I don't really think getting a Volca is a good starting point if you're a real beginner, because it can work, but it's a lot of work setting up a system around it. Whereas if you use a circuit or a Digitact or a Lectraw or even a beat step or something like key step, it's easier because you have the centerpiece and then you can expand from it.
No, totally makes sense. And anyone that is looking to get into it, seriously check out Bo's channel. It's so good. Yeah, I completely blame you, to be honest, about getting into electronic music. So I was doing like lots of guitar recordings, and I saw your video on the Minilog, and I was just hooked. I was like, yes, this is the way to go.
Cool. Yeah.
So yes, I completely blame you. And,
did you get one?
Yeah, definitely, and I love it. I've been using it for, I don't know, 10, 11 months now. So I've only really been doing this kind of jamming thing for not too long, really. But it's fantastic. I was doing a load of recording with it yesterday, and the preset patches on it are fantastic, but building your own sounds is really simple as well. It's not a difficult bit of kit to get quite intricate with, which I really like. The LFOs you can put where you want and play with it really fast. So yeah,
it's a really good learning tool. I just did a 2-year follow-up review on it, and I think I said in the review that even if you're not 100% sold on the sound, the workflow can win you over. I mean, it's not the synth I go to because it's like, this sounds the best. It's more so the synth I go to because it's just a lot of fun tweaking and working from. And I've learned a ton because when I started my channel, I knew very little, and I still feel like I know very little. But I've learned more and more. And having something like if I just compare it, to something. Say you get a Blofeld, a Waldorf Blofeld. That's a super nice, very good, well-priced synth, multi-timbral. If I don't misremember, like 8 or 16 voices or something. But the problem is that a lot of what's going on is under the hood. It's inside of menus. So for a lot of people, it'll just become a preset machine. You'll do some minor tweaks. But something like a Minilogue will demand you, will sort of make you move the knobs.
Yeah.
And I think that's what hallmark for me of a good beginner synth. Something that you'll want to tweak. That's why the circuit is good. Not because you'll not learn synthesis from an Innovation circuit, but you'll tweak it. You'll work with the patches that's on it, and you'll start to manipulate sound, which is kind of cool.
Well, I think there's for me there's a big difference between the analytical side of music and the emotional side of music, and that's one of the big things coming. I still do stuff on DAWs and do music that way, but you can very easily get sucked into the analytical side. So whenever there's equipment that keeps you in the kind of emotional tweak side of stuff, it gets a lot more fun that way. So
yeah, and I think I've thought a lot about this because you probably saw on the channel I've recently had videos up where I discussed this whole like jamming versus finishing music, and I think it's very easy. It would be very easy for somebody like me to say to people, yeah, you're just jamming because you can't finish a song. Because I've actually, even though some people don't realize it, I've finished a lot of music in my years, and I don't really have a big issue finishing stuff. So it would be very easy for me to take that position and say, you should finish your music. You're taking the easy way out, just jamming. But the problem is also that when I was most productive, I had a very professional mindset with what I was doing, even though I didn't earn a lot of money from it, but I did have some jobs in the sort of music industry or whatever you want to call it. And this, of course, took me in the route of a DAW, and I made music there, and it was a lot of work getting over that threshold where I didn't get stuck in the intellectual bit, in the should I start mixing now? Should I, you have all these different ways you can go with your music. Where should I go? And that took time, many, many years to develop a skill, not to get bogged down with all these options. And when I took a little break and I got back into music, I realized that just to get started, the hardware stuff, and even using something like Machina or a Push 2 or something, just having this tactile and limiting yourself a little bit to what you can do with this controller was just so much fun, and was a great way to get started. So I think sometimes it's very easy to, if you are knowledgeable, it's very easy to overestimate how easy it is, or underestimate how difficult it can be for somebody just sitting down with like infinite possibilities. You have the mixer, you have like a bunch of VSTs, and just kind of learning it. And for most people, they don't have this set goal of making an album, for example, or making, like I did, music for some commercial purposes, and like that's a different thing. So I totally see that division between intellectual and sort of, you have to work with both sides, of course, if you eventually want to output something. But I think a lot of people, especially in this kind of community, just focus on the enjoyment, and I mean, nothing wrong with that.
There certainly isn't. That's what it's all about. So yeah. How long is the perfect jam?
Probably about a third of people are putting out there. You could probably cut it. Like, look at my videos. Go back, guys. If somebody's watching, go back. Okay, so my Moog is 4 minutes. Yeah. I think it could have been 3 minutes, and Analog Beats is 5 minutes. It could probably have been like 3 minutes as well. I think around 3 minutes is probably. I think for a jam, here's something that I thought about. because I've seen a lot of jams over these last few years on the forums, and something that I find interesting, and I've done this myself. Like we take the mindset of a song, so we start the jam and we sort of build it up. But I'd actually love to see more, and I know some people do this, where you just put up a video and you're thrown into the song. Skip the intro. It's just focusing on. It's like when you see a snippet from or a clip from a live show. You don't see it like, oh, the band gets on stage. You're right into the action. And sometimes I think people should just sort of kill the darlings and sort of just take a really nice part, 2 minutes, just put it out there. And I think oftentimes we get a little bit of a better response because it's a little snappier. It works better on social media and so on. And we don't need to have the 5-minute thing.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I think there's definitely a something has to change in 10 seconds. If it sounds great at the start, fantastic, but something big has to change, and it just captures you. Oh, this isn't just one thing. It's going to change and move. Because
if we look at how these platforms work, I mean, we can have all the ideals we want about music and how it should be, but we have to look at it realistically. How is it? How are people using these platforms? Instagram, that's a 1-minute video or like a couple of seconds for the stories. And it's a really great way to catch people's attention, grab it. But then try and make people engage on other platforms like YouTube or Bandcamp or even
so like SoundCloud.
And SoundCloud, something like that. Yeah. I mean, make people engage over there where the platform itself lends to longer arrangements or something like that. And so if you have a really good jam and you want to make a video out of it, I would like takes a good part, like a good part where you can grab somebody, make sure you link your Bandcamp or whatever, and try and make people interested in what you're doing, because I see a lot of people doing it and getting a good reception. There's a lot of people in the sort of I would jokingly call it the artsy Eurorack sphere, where people do like more ambient soundscape sort of things, and they make these snippets, put them on Instagram, beautiful, perfect to just have on for a minute or so. And I see a lot of people going from that to actually going, okay, let's listen to the album or let's buy their cassette or whatever. And I think that's brilliant.
It's
but
like
it's about knowing
your
formats.
Yeah, it's almost like a little trailer, isn't it? Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, I think people should view it more like that, because it's hard to. I mean, I've done it. You can go through my YouTube. There's a ton of super long, uneventful jam videos, and I've just realized that over the years I've realized that it doesn't really the format doesn't hold up.
Yeah, no, totally interesting. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I super appreciate your time, and keep doing what you're doing. You have such a big impact that you probably don't know on loads of people's lives, and you influence everyone in terms of just people being inspired to try this out. So I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for joining me. It's really
thank you
great
for
to speak to you.
having me, and good job on the community. I've been going in. Is one of the, I would say it's one of the Hardware Jams group is one of the four or five groups on Facebook that I've been going to lately, because there's a lot of interesting content being put up, and you do get a lot of inspiration from just seeing others do their thing and enjoying it. So it's been great.
That's it. Keeps everyone making music and
definitely
happy. So yes, and you have to join us on a weekend challenge one time.
One time
a short weekend.
I should definitely do it. Yeah.
I think we're going to do one this weekend with BPM. So there'll be a set BPM. So
cool.
We'll see how we go. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, buddy, and take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Oh, check out his channel. He's got loads of great, good reviews, good music. He's just a solid guy. Thank thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Next, we've got one of my favourite acids. It's the Acid Clown. This is his one box challenge. He seems to like have this Acid Clown thing, but you know, some of his tracks, like he's got some really good versatile remixes, good versatile techno stuff, dancey stuff, and this is kind of a bit more of a chill track for him, but it was, I don't know, I really liked it. It just kind of had that really nice vibe to it. And this track is called HNJ Entry 4. I hope you enjoy it. That? How groovy is that? From a freaking Korg Volca sample. Really, really cool track. Our next track again is another Korg Volca sample track. This is just like sleazy music. It's what's the right way to describe it? I don't know. It's just kind of, could be a backing track for a hip hop track or something like that. And it's a pimped synth as well. Where are the details? This is William Richard Mills. His YouTube is called Cubis, and the track is Hardware Jams Single Box Challenge with Volca sample. And yeah, it's just got some super cool beats, really sleazy. I'd put this on one of my snowboard videos. I'd be down for that. Hope you enjoy. Mr. Sleazy. I really, really like that track. It's very nice. The next track is Tight. Oh, lots of different little simple boxes, isn't there? In the Volk sample boxes, we had the OPZs. One of the really popular one-box solution a lot of people use is the Deluge. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I've been practicing it for freaking ages. The Deluge Simple Box Jam, and this is Scott Kuehnert from Seattle, USA. And this is one of my favourite tracks this week. It's just kind of the way it moves and the way it's kind of the vibe of it. It's just kind of really cool, chilled outy beats as well, which it's kind of ticks all the boxes for me. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Just 2 tracks left for the rest of the podcast. I hope you've really enjoyed listening. That track is just really nice. The next one is called Infinity Burning. This is by Blip Fortran. Jason Adams is from Ohio in the USA, and this is like, it's just got one of those really catchy melodies, just a really nice melody, and it's on a Novation circuit, and yeah, I really love the melody on this. It just caught me, and it's just got a really nice vibe as well. Proper cool. Our last track, I was really blown away by this, and a lot of people on the forum had great comments about it as well. It was the Single Box Hardware Jams Challenge on a Volca bass. He did a whole track on a Volca bass. This is so good. Sebastian Smith from the UK, and it's just I don't know, it's just something beautiful about it. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Join me next time. If you want some other music, there's a lot of other podcasts before this if you've not seen them yet. And there's also the Unsigned Review Show with the Acid Clown on Tuesday the 20th. I think it is next on Tuesday, yeah. So check out, there's loads of stuff happening, loads of hardware stuff on there as well, and keep your listening, keep chatting to people, and keep commenting, and yeah, let's keep this thing positive. It's really great to see how much positivity there is in the group and how much cool music there is as well. And yeah, I've been your host, Logie Bear SB, and this is Single Box Hardware Jam Challenge Volca Bass.
Thank you.
Thank you.